What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be talking about careers, which is a huge topic, and I really feel this will be so helpful for anyone who hasn't graduated college yet, or even attended college, or are still in high school. Because if you're under 20, there's a lot of stuff that you probably don't know about. And now I'm not claiming I know everything, far from it. I'm actually struggling a lot with it myself, but I really feel like this is a topic that um, there's definitely some interesting stuff in it that a lot of people aren't even aware about. By the way, if you're wondering what this wooden post is, it's part of a whiteboard which I'm behind right now. I'm in a study lounge, and I'm probably going to stop recording if anyone comes in. So that will determine how long this video is going to be. Anyhow, I want to start off by talking about homeless people. I actually volunteer in Baltimore, and each time I go, uh, there's homeless people begging me for money. And the thing is, the parking garage is part of the place where I work. It's like literally like a less than 1 minute walk from the place where I volunteer. I volunteer at a hospital. And in that short distance, there's still homeless people, and they're begging for money and stuff like that. And it really makes me wonder because I recently watched this video by Will Smith, and in it, he pretty much gives some advice to people out there. Says pretty much, if you have something you're interested in, say bowling, versus something you know will pay more money, he says blatantly, almost verbatim, he says, go for the thing you're interested in instead. Because he has seen a lot of people make a lot of bad choices because of money. Now, I really do agree with him and stuff like that. And I really wish it was that simple, because if it were that simple, I for sure, as of right now, would go for something I'm really interested in over making a lot of money. And I wouldn't care whether my friends judge me for being poor, or my parents or anybody really, you know, look down on me because of that. Because I've gone through enough to know that I have the intellect to make a lot of money if I really wanted to. Nowadays, though, I don't even know if that's really true, but I really am proud of the hard work I've put into classes, because despite me not getting the best grades at times, and despite there always being that 10% who's better than me, and nowadays it's like half the class is better than me, especially when you get to the upper level classes. But from high school till like the middle of college, I was the one putting in 110% in my classes, while a lot of people were falling behind. And there's definitely people who weren't like that. There's a lot who didn't even care for class, didn't show up to class. But I do respect a lot of those people who worked even harder than me. And props to them. But it really is quite a disparity, because what if you only enjoy stuff that can't make you money? What if you're a couch potato and your passions are video games, and that's about it? Let's say you're just a guy who just enjoys video games and talking to girls. That's your only interest in life. I hate to say it, but that's partially where I stand. Now, a lot of people would say you gotta find other interests out there, and I'm sure I can. But as of right now, those are two of my huge passions, and those don't warrant really any money unless you're playing on the top level professionally in a video game. And the game I play, League of Legends, if you get to that level, you can make a living off of it, but it's very, very hard to do. I've put in thousands of hours into this game just because I enjoyed it so much, and I know people who have done 3 to 4 times that, and they are not in the professional scene. The competition is very stiff. You have to be in the top 0.001% to even be considered. And I'm talking top 0.001% of the millions who play this game. And it's a lot like that in a lot of areas in life. And I watched this video, I think like a couple of days ago, and it was that Will Smith quote where he was like, he made the two analogies, piano and bowling. He said, if you love playing piano, but you know you can make more money bowling, and obviously he's using these two interests as just random analogies, he said, go for piano. And I really wish I could just agree with him, because life would be a lot simpler than, but the truth is, your interests a lot of times don't correlate with what's practical in real life, and it sucks. For me and a lot of others, the cold hard truth is you have to get off your lazy butt and stop finding deteriorating interests. Find something that's actually healthy and beneficial that you're passionate about. And I know people like Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, he lucked out in a lot of ways because he is one of the richest people in the world. But here's the thing: in many interviews which I've watched in YouTube, by the way, everything I'm going to reference in this video can be found in YouTube, and if I have time, I will find all those videos and link them in the description below. I can't guarantee I'll find all of them or I'll have the time, but if I do, I will. Warren Buffett, in multiple interviews, he has said that pretty much he skips to work every day because he loves what he does so much. And if he didn't make anything out of it, he would still do it. He said in this interview where he sat down with Jay-Z, the rapper, for a Forbes interview. It was an hour-long interview. In around like the 30-minute mark, he said something like, even if he was paid in seashells, he would still do what he does because he loves it so much. He just lucked out because of circumstances, the ethnicity he was born into, where he was born into, the fact that he enjoyed what he did and he had a talent for it, and so forth, that he was where he was. But the fact is, he would have done it regardless of the pay he got. And the thing is, I watched a YouTube video from, it was a compilation of all the richest people in the world and famous advice quotes from them. It was like a 10-minute video, and 90% of the people in it were rich beyond belief. Many of them had billions of dollars. And first off, my first piece of advice to you guys is take all this advice from other people with a grain of salt, including mine, because their perspective is really based on their experiences, which are limited. These people, Will Smith, I mean, I wish it was that simple, but these guys, they're living in a world where they're rich. So, I mean, you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. And my dad would say, sure, you can take their advice, but in a practical sense, can you really even achieve that level? And the one thing I do agree with that they say is that don't let anyone tell you can't do something. Your parents, your family members, your friends, people who have failed themselves, and because of that they're trying to stop others from achieving something that they can't do. Don't let anyone stop you from doing something, from telling you that it's not possible. And this is a common quote that you'll see a lot in this video that I just mentioned with the billionaires. And it's probably one of the biggest themes regarding Will Smith's life. He's mentioned it many times in interviews. He's mentioned it in movies, The Pursuit of Happiness, and just in life in general. If you just search on YouTube, advice on success, space Will Smith, you'll find multiple videos where he mentions the same sort of thing. And it's true. It's true in a way. I believe so. And the thing is, I really don't know anymore. Because here's the thing. A lot of times, your passions won't correlate with the options out there, and it's really putting me into a sort of loop because what can I do right now? Like, I'm interested in making YouTube videos, but actually making a living off of this I don't think it's possible as of right now. I enjoy doing it. Would I be fulfilled if I just did this for the rest of my life? No. I'd love it. I'd be fulfilled to a certain extent. But I really feel like, for me, I feel like there's so much potential. And I don't know where that is right now. Maybe it's a stupid dream, but potentially that could be acting. Potentially that's making movies. Potentially that's making music. Because for me, there's a lot of times in my past where I've just come up in my head with these ridiculous songs, just ridiculously awesome songs. And I didn't have a sound recorder or anything, and I didn't have the knowledge to actually make that into a song. And I lost it. I forgot about it. And each time I thought back, what was that song again? I wouldn't remember. And quite honestly, like, getting into music is, like, it's not as easy as it looks. A lot of things that you think you're passionate about, once you get into it, it's not all fun and roses. It was like that for me with making music as well as computer science. Both of these things, I always wondered what would have been like if I tried that out. If I didn't, for the longest time, follow this pre-med track. What would have been like? And I actually tried it out recently. I got into comp sci, and I got into just casually online, like, making songs. And it's not simple stuff. You have to go through days worth, not hours worth, days and years worth. I don't know about years, but you really have to have a vivid passion in this, because it can get very dull, it can get very uninteresting, it can get boring, it can get a lot of things. Comp sci and coding is not just, oh yeah, I'm just gonna type up some random stuff and boom, I have the next biggest video game. It's a lot of very dull, dull is a subjective word. It's a lot of thinking and a lot of knowledge you have to consume, and a lot of variables and declarations and loops and while loops and for loops and if or else statements and so forth, and a lot of knowledge. Same thing with making music. You really have to have a lot of knowledge in just manipulating the program you're using and knowing the ins and out of it. Like, if you pull up like a standard like sound mixer or like standard software to make actual music, there's like so many dials and freaking buttons and levers and stuff. It's like flying an airplane, and it's not all roses and daisies. You really have to love it and grind the workout by watching YouTube videos and tutorials and figuring out how to do it. And it's the same thing with like every area of life. And so that's how it is. And for me, I recently talked with my mom about this, and um, after college, there's routes you can take. You can get a job, which most people do. The other option is like post grad schools, which include medical school, uh, foot surgeon school. I think it's called podiometry or something like that. I don't know. Physical therapy school, PT school, physical assistant school, physician's assistant school, PA, dentistry. Um, there's a lot. There's chef school, there's business school, there's graduate school, and graduate school covers every area from engineering to business to sciences. Um, and graduate school, you can get a master's, which is 2 years, I believe, or a PhD, which is 4 to 5 years, depending on your specialty. And then there's dentistry school. There's obviously medical school if you want to become a doctor, and a lot of areas. And it's really funny because throughout college, I've met so many people, hundreds, that wanted to be a doctor. Oh yeah, I want to be pre-med. Set me down for the 4-year plan for pre-med. Everyone wants to be a doctor. And a lot of them, I always kind of knew, it's not that simple. Um, and a lot of them, by senior year in college, they are out. They couldn't even handle the pre-med courses set for them in college. Some of them, like, here's the thing, by senior year and junior year, the lectures will filtered down from 300 people per class to about like 50 sometimes. And you'll see a lot of similar faces because these are people who are dedicated. The rest have sort of left. And even with them, what I found with the dozens that remained, a lot of them have changed track. And the ones who are still focused in on it, I'm really concerned for, because a lot of them, I really don't think they'll make it, but they've all decided that they're going to take a year off. And I presume it's because they didn't make it into medical school this year. So they're taking a year off and reapplying the next year. Some of them, I think they have great chances. Others, not so much. The big picture is there's a lot of them, and medical school acceptance rate is around 2-3%, which is very low. And there's others who they'll apply overseas for school. And for me, I don't know if this is really what I want to do anymore. Um, there's the grades, and then there's the interest sort of thing. I don't know. Maybe my thinking will change in a couple years, but it really puts a sort of screw in your head. It sort of screws with your thinking, because there's a whole mindset in American society where it's like you have to pursue what you're interested in, and like it or not, it's all intertwined, because a lot of people, they'll say that they're interested in it, but it's really just they're freaking. I mean, it's a lot of factors. Their family influences them. On the other side of it, there's freaking peer pressure from parents, and money plays a factor into it, and a lot of these different things. And I think it's a lot of people, it's always a percentage. I don't think I've ever seen anyone who's 100% only doing this because they love it that much. Very rarely. Of the dozens, of the hundreds I've met who are pursuing whatever they're pursuing. And I can't say I blame them, because it's tough out there. Like, from a week to week basis, I see people who are begging for money. and you could blame that on the economy. You could blame that on maybe bad life choices, or maybe it's just simply down to the fact that it's really that tough to get a job out there, and that's why money plays a factor into it. Most people, I really think it's a percentage. Like, I can just tell by how they're talking to me that, yeah, they're doing what they're doing because, a part of it is that medical school people, doctors, do get paid quite a lot. And what's wrong with that, honestly? Because it's so much better than being broke on the streets. Now, I'm not saying like you're gonna be broke on the streets if you don't do it, but on the other side of the spectrum, a lot of these people, they do it, and like the acceptance rate is so low. So if you have that opportunity, why not take it? And that's really up to you, because there's also a lot of people who are rich and they're unhappy. And I've done a whole video on this, and I'm probably going to do another one because there's so much more to elaborate on the topic. But there's definitely rich people, millionaires, billionaires, who are not happy with their lives. I recently watched a video. It was an interview with an entrepreneur who it was for the channel London Real. You can find it on YouTube, and it was a 10-minute interview with this entrepreneur, and he was talking about how he had met these business magnates. They were CEOs worth hundreds of millions of dollars from China, and they were miserable with their lives. And again, I can't say too much because it's hearsay. I didn't actually meet these people. It was based on this interview, so I don't know if it's legit or not. But apparently these people, they couldn't, despite them being so rich, they had to pay women to sleep with them. Like, they're worth hundreds of millions, and yet they still can't deal with their dating lives. And that's why I really think that you shouldn't really mention how much you're making to a girl until she actually likes you, and you know for a fact that she likes you not for your money. Same thing even if you're poor. And here's the biggest thing. I talked to my mom, and long story short, she told me about how even with graduate school, it's a huge time commitment. Medical school and dentistry school are two huge time commitments as well. Long story short, it's 4 years of medical school, assuming you even get in, 4 years of dentistry school, then 4 years of residency, where you're living there and actually working with patients, and then after that, on average, 2 to 3 years of fellowship in a specialized area, and after that, you're good to go. You can find a job. So it's roughly around 10 years. Now, what I found is that with graduate school, which a lot of people deem to be like it's easier to get into than medical school and dentistry school. So it's another option for those who have found they can't make it. And it's the same thing with pharmacy school, stuff like that. And for these sort of things, like even graduate school, which the acceptance rates, which aren't really released, but the ones that are, they aren't that high. Even if you get in, it's not like you're guaranteed something consistent. You can be worked like a dog and not make much. From what I've been told from my mom and the people I have talked to at the hospital, I've talked to doctors, and I've talked to people who manage the laboratory aspect at a medical center. And what I've been told is that you're still vying. Like, let's say you graduate grad school, you're still working super hard just to make a meager salary. You work like a dog at times, and you're constantly vying for tenure. And what that means is you're pretty much working to get paid to teach, and it's always something that's like, until you're guaranteed something, you can be fired if you're not doing a good enough job teaching. Or another thing is you have to get funding. You have to write some sort of grant proposal in order to get funding from the government to do scientific research. And if you don't get the results you need from your whatever you're funding, then you're not making a lot of money, and you're cut from the program, and you're cut from the school you're working for. And on top of that, it's really hard to get a grant accepted, and it's really hard to get funding, and you work like a dog. And so what my mom's told me is that, long story short, grad school, there's two routes, as I mentioned: master's and PhD. PhD, she said, takes roughly 5 years, and after that, it's like you're not guaranteed anything. Like, just because you have that, jobs are still hard to find. According to my mom, she and a lot of her friends had a lot of trouble finding jobs after that. And if you're lucky, if you find one, you won't be paid much. And a lot of times it's usually research or teaching. And there's a lot of people out there apparently with PhDs who are doing it. They have a job, but it's unpaid. And that's how tough it is. And I don't even know at this point. Again, a lot of it's hearsay, so I don't know. There's another story about how it was a Reddit. It was a if you guys don't know what Reddit is, look it up. But it was a Reddit post by Barack Obama a couple years ago, and one of the top rated questions to him was from a lawyer. This was a law student who had graduated law school from apparently a top law school, which he didn't reference. And again, this is hearsay, so who knows if it's legitimate. But apparently he had graduated from law school, and obviously he has to pay off all his debt, and he couldn't find a job. I don't even know. And so I think Obama said something like, it's tough. Long story short, what he said was like, there's nothing really that can be done right now, but in the future, things are looking bright. It's just, it'll take time to get there, so try your best. And my plan for the future will fix this. So in the long run, your options will look great. And we'll see how it turns out. There's other options out there for someone like me who spent a lot of time. I mean, I majored in biology as a degree. Vet school, pharmacy school, those are big ones. And I mean, from what I've heard, it's not that big a deal, guys. It's not like you're going to be homeless if you don't get into these schools. I can't really trust my mom anymore, because she likes, whether she will admit it or not, I feel like she likes to scare me purposefully. God knows why, potentially to push me towards a career path. I don't know. But it's not that bad. It's not like you're going to be homeless if you don't make it to these things. There's this one person, Tucker Max. He runs a large website where he's made quite a living pretty much telling stories about his debaucherous lifestyle in college and so forth. And his site has attracted millions of visitors. He's sold quite a lot of books. But during this time, he went through college, and then he went through law school. He graduated law school, but he chose not to pursue being a lawyer. I don't know where he is now. Apparently, I guess he makes a living off the books. But it's very interesting how people turn out. It's not like, you go to this pathway and then you have to follow it. And for me, it's really weird because my roommate's dad is a really reputable doctor, and he spent his whole life starting his own business, uh, medical business as a doctor, um, and that's as far as I know. He's very successful. But these sort of things don't translate to the next generation. Just as a quick disclaimer, um, sometimes it doesn't work out. His children, my roommate and my roommate's sister, they're not pursuing anything medical related. Uh, their parents obviously pushed, but it wasn't in their passion. Same thing with one of my co-workers in a psychology lab I worked at a couple years ago. Her dad was probably like the best um, in terms of medical school and doctor. Her dad had like the best credentials ever. Um, I can't remember the specifics, but she went to Mayo Clinic. I mean, he he attended like the Mayo Clinic thing, um, and that is apparently like one of the top medical schools in the world. And he did all this other stuff. On top of that, he started his own business as well. He started his own, like, I think it was his own hospital, and he started a business off of that as well. And yeah, like, in terms of being a doctor, one could argue that he was in certain ways, um, like, in terms of making money as a doctor, he had made it to like the highest profession in certain ways. And yet her child, my coworker, she didn't have the mental capacity to do that, bless her heart. And she's pursuing something in psychology. And she told me like she would have loved to do it, but she just wasn't cut out for it. And she really would have loved to do it, but it just wasn't. It was just too intensive for her. And she's now pursuing pretty much grad school in psychology. And her dad's rich, my roommate's dad's rich, and both of them are sort of just like you couldn't tell that they're that rich. um, and rich is variable because, again, doctors make a lot compared to the average Joe, but the richest people are making hundreds of times more than that. um, I would say like the biggest doctors, 100 to 200,000. And then you got like the super rich people making millions, and those are people who are really lucky, but at the same time have worked for it and really, one could argue, earned it. And I do have to say that it's a huge mind screw for me. I really wish it was that simple, but like, let's face the facts. Uh, college. In college, you have all these majors, right? You have stuff from agriculture to English to creative writing to business, blah 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 blah. And right now, like, it's just like follow my passions. I followed the advice. I'm willing to follow the advice of a lot of the quotes, a lot of the advice from the most successful people on this planet that have been given. Um, and it it's down to pursuing what you're interested in, and do it not for the money, but for your interest, and I really wouldn't care um, if I made a lot of money. My only fear is not making enough to support myself. Um, and the second thing is just the biggest thing that is constantly reoccurring from all these quotes from all these huge successful people is don't tell don't let anyone tell you, family, friend, or acquaintance, that you can't do something, that it's impossible, or that you shouldn't pursue it. um, and the next thing is, don't let rejection sort of hinder you. Don't dwell on it. Sometimes you have to go through hundreds of rejections to get to where you are. And these are all things that I'm willing to embrace, and some of them I've sort of already experienced. If you see my previous videos, I've experienced rejection in terms of girls um, a lot of times, more so than I would say most of the population. And that was such a huge accomplishment for me because before that I had rarely approached a girl, and in the past couple years I've done something, and some of it has been released on my YouTube channel, audio only, but just getting rejected by girls, trying, not trying to get rejected, but actually trying with girls. And I really feel like this is something that can be correlated to the rest of life. And I don't feel like rejection is something that's, and like it's something I'm willing to go through. And then the next biggest thing that I've heard from them is just uh, find some status quo, and then find some way of breaking that status quo and meeting a greater demand. And that's more related to business and stuff like that. But I guess what I'm saying here is I haven't got it really all figured out myself, and there's a lot going on about it. I've talked to my mom about it, and I don't know if she really was trying to scare me, but she pretty much told me about how a lot of her friends, including her, have like pretty much spent a lot of years in school after college, getting a PhD, and then after getting a PhD, getting some other sort of post-grad degree, and getting all these degrees, spending just as much time, 10 to 11 to 15 years, at least according to her. She didn't really elaborate on how exactly you're spending 15 years in school after college. But I don't know if she's trying to scare me or whatever the reason, but she's pretty much saying that you can spend just as much, if not more time, in graduate school than med school, and not make much. She said like sometimes you'd be making 30,000 a year after all that. And I think her main goal was to tell me that a lot of this stuff is about commitment, and I can't really say I've got all figured out. Oh yes, one last thing. On YouTube, making a living on YouTube, like this is one of the, like I really find it awesome to do, and I really want to one day branch out into skits and comedy and music as well. Maybe start a channel on music and grow my gaming channel right now. Right now my gaming channel has a lot of subscribers, but a lot of them are dead subscribers. They only joined because of the giveaway videos I've done on my gaming channel. And here's the thing, like the top YouTubers, like the top 0.001%, as always, they're making a lot of money off of YouTube, a hell of a lot. Some say they're even millionaires. And same thing, it transcends just one category. Same thing with League of Legends. Apparently some of the top professional players have made hundreds of thousands of dollars off merchandise sold and streaming in the last year. but they are the lucky few out of the millions out there who can get to that level. Um, and it transcends just YouTube, people who make a living off YouTube, to those who make a living off gaming. It's just life in general. Those who are CEOs and so forth. These people, like, look at the rest of you guys. Um, Timothy De La Ghetto, he is like in the top 100 most subscribed YouTubers. Still in the top, compared to the millions of YouTube channels trying to make it big. And yet, he has stated before that back at the time, I think he had less subscribers, but still quite a lot, like a million or so subscribers. He worked, I guess, full-time or part-time at California Pizza Kitchen, which is a restaurant. That was his full-time job, despite him having hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and despite him being, you know, very, very talented. And you can tell when he freestyle raps the amount of time he spent developing that skill. He's really talented and skilled at rapping, and his skits, a lot of time has been put into them and so forth. But for him, at the very least, he's not really, I would think he's not pursuing money. He's doing it because he enjoys it, it's his passion. And sure, he'll have to take on a part-time job to make a living, but he's pursuing his passion. He's not really interested in making millions. He's, at least from my perspective, I don't know if it's actually true, he's pursuing what he's doing because he loves it. He could care less about the money, and that's where I want to be. The thing is, for me, I don't know where that is right now. Maybe these stupid dreams of making on YouTube and so forth are just, they're not gonna come true and so forth. And I really don't know. I just know, I feel like for the longest time in my life, I have a lot of potential, and that's why I don't think I could really settle with something like just medical school or graduate school. And I'm not trying to be cocky or pompous or arrogant, because my grades aren't that great, and I don't even know if I could get in if I tried for the next couple years. But even if I did get in, I wouldn't know if that's, I don't know if I'd be content with that. And there's people out there, there's loved ones I know who would reason to me, there's a balance, and who cares if it's not your passion? You have to make a living. And I really don't know right now. I'm going to graduate with a degree in biology at my college, and I don't know where that'll take me. I do know for a fact that I'm going to do this YouTube thing on the side. I'm going to put as much as I can into it, and I'm going to start trying to cut out the crap, because a lot of my videos have been sort of bad quality, especially on my gaming channel. And I'm going to amp up the quality of my videos. I don't mind the casual vlogs that much, but I really feel like if I really want to do this on the side because I enjoy doing it, I have to cut out the crap videos that I didn't even make myself. Some of them are just like featuring other videos using the Creative Commons license. That's mainly on my gaming channel. But I don't know. I really feel like I enjoy entertainment a lot, and I don't want to just stick with YouTube. Music, singing, creating songs, being on the back end of creating, actually performing, or comedy, skits, acting, making movies. Those are all possibilities. On top of that, there's other stuff I'm interested in, and I really, there's a lot of what ifs about just dropping all this and then finding something about and start a business off of it, and really just build a business off of this crap, and follows people like Bill Gates, or people who have made a business and have made it successful, or maybe something like Warren Buffett, where he started something with stocks and bonds and stuff. But um, my dad says, I mentioned this to my dad, he said that's foolhardy, because a lot of these people were talented, and they had already showed their talent and begun doing this far earlier than you have. Bill Gates started this freshman year of college and dropped out of college to do this. And yet at the same time, a lot of these people, not all of them, they made tremendous risks. Bill Gates not so much, because he knew he would have always had a fallback with his parents and his skill set. He had a tremendous amount of knowledge, and I think it is somewhat foolhardy in certain ways, because I don't even have an idea. I don't have that sort of knowledge. I don't have that sort of talent. But where does this potential come from? I guess it's just a passion. I know for a fact that I'm more passionate and more driven, and that's the one quality I really feel that separates me from all the rest. I'm the guy in class who has cast aside the fear of being judged by others, of being made fun of, because I raised my hand and asked questions because I wanted that better grade, because I was interested enough in the topic. I see this a lot in my college courses. Half the people there don't care. They're sleeping in class. They're making fun of the guy who asked questions. But I'm there. I'm there because I'm putting in the work while these others are slacking off. And again, this is related to one of my inspirations, Will Smith, who does the same thing. He has a sickening drive. Like, one of his quotes, Will Smith, and this has inspired me multiple times. He says something along the lines of, you could be smarter than me, you could be sexier than me, taller than me, handsomer than me, more good looking, more muscular, but the one thing that I will have over you is my sickening work ethic. And he says something different. He says, if we get on a treadmill, I guarantee you will get off first. And then he later elaborates that his work ethic is sickening to the point where he's either going to die on that treadmill or you're getting off first. And when the competitor is sleeping, or the competitor is eating lunch, he's working. And for me, I don't know, only certain things spur that sort of drive in me, so I don't know anymore. I don't know if I could bring that up pursuing something in graduate school, or pursuing something in med school or veterinarian school, or something else. I really don't know. And here's the thing, even with that drive, I know a lot of people, my mom included, who have that sort of drive and have used it, and they've used it in their field, government work, or just graduate school, getting a PhD and so forth. A lot of people work really hard, and yet they are making very little money from it, 10,000, 20,000. And so is it really worth it? And I don't think I would want to do that if I'm not really enjoying it, because I could do all that and make not much, barely enough to support myself. Working like a dog. Do you really want to work like a dog for something you're not passionate about? And that's one of my fears, not finding that passion. Because let's face it, I was on Facebook the other day, and again, Mark Zuckerberg he's another anomaly. A lot of people call him an anomaly. He got lucky. That's what a lot of people say. Don't base yourself off of him. A lot of people, like my dad, would say, don't base yourself off of him. He's very talented, lucky, unique, and he found something that people could use. Um, a lot of people who I have taken inspirational advice off of YouTube, who are billionaires. They might say the opposite. They would say your dad is trying to tell you not to pursue your interest. Your dad is telling you you can't do it. It's impossible. I wouldn't go that far. My dad loves me. He's looking for my best interest. But that's how it is. It's down to how life is. Someone just came in, so I'm gonna have to wrap this up. Um, I'm going to finish off real quick with one story. Um, I was looking at the sort of uh, highest income list of Forbes like half a year ago, and on the top of the list was anesthesiologist, highest average income, and that's just what happens to be my aunt's profession. And sure, they live great. They live in what a lot of people would call a mansion. Um, and I've been pushed a lot to sort of do this sort of thing. But it really comes down to like, does that really matter for you? And I've talked a lot about this in my other video. It's a sort of like, and this is talked about in TED Talks. You can search it up. It's a correlation. What I really think it is, and my advice to you is, don't do it unless you really think you're interested in it, or you're in this denomination where you don't meet this threshold. So basically, what it is there's statistically, in terms of happiness and income, there is a correlation if you do hit this threshold. And that threshold, I can't remember exactly. I think it's like 50,000. There is a correlation because it makes sense. If you don't have money, food, shelter, and your daily necessities, that can impact your happiness and so forth. But once you hit this threshold, there's they're independent of each other, like statistically from a scientific perspective. And there was a TED Talk done on this. You search it up on YouTube. The correlation fails to exist anymore. So I don't know myself about this, but it's definitely something to think about. Anyhow, I'm going to wrap this up, and as always, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe if you like this video to see more. There's definitely more. I would love to elaborate on this, but this has gone on for long enough. If you want a part 2, let me know in the comments below. I'll see you guys later. Peace.